frontal. It's quartering a little bit the one way, but
all right, set us up. Rows before bows. We've been here. All right, we're rolling.
Bows. Hope you're all having a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. I've got the 2022 PSE Carbon Levitate that I'm going to compare to last year's Mach 1. Also going to throw in the mix the Ventum 33 that I used for hunting last year. I want to compare new versus old, and then something new that I'm looking at for hunting this year compared to what I used last year for hunting, if that makes sense. The Levitate is at 70, it's a 70 pound limbs that I've got twisted up to 75. The other two bows here are 80 pound pulls. We'll see how that compares. I know that's not a great apples to apples comparison, but we'll go ahead and see how the Levitate does, and then we can extrapolate as far as what it might do with an 80 pound limb setup. And then the 70 pound guys can get an idea of what a hot 70 pound Levitate can do with a range of arrows. I've got 416 up to 649 grains, so we'll see how that does. We'll also compare some of the things that I think are important in a hunting bow, starting with the draw cycle. How does the bow pull? How does it load through the draw cycle? Is there a big hump at the end? Does it dump? Is there a big valley? Those kinds of things that are important. Also, how does the bow hold? How is the balance? That's extremely important. How does that sucker aim? And then at the shot, do we have a lot of vibration? Does the bow jump? How does it sound? Is there a lot of noise? We'll go ahead and shoot it with as little on the bow as possible, and then we'll go ahead and put everything back on and kind of give another comparison. The reason that I think that it's important is because obviously we don't hunt with a bare bow for the most part. Who knows, maybe there are guys out there that are doing some of that, but at least you're going to have a sight on there. Most people will have some sort of either a stabilizer or a vibration dampener, depending on the characteristics of it. Most guys will have something on there, but we'll go ahead and put everything back on the bow the way I have them set up and see how they perform or how they feel. And the reason that I think that's important to do is because you're going to set up every bow a little bit different, depending on how it shoots, how it feels. bare bow weight comes into play there. If you have a lot of weight on the bow to begin with, you may not be able to get it to balance as well. If you're trying to keep the weight down, those kinds of things, like I said, I think are important, and they all come into play. So we'll go ahead and get that done. Okay, I got the Ventum 33 here. We're going to start with that one. We'll start with the draw cycle. Starts out solid, but it doesn't load or get more stiff all the way through. It just drops into the valley. Obviously there's a letdown, but it doesn't load up before you get there. So that's pretty good. Letdown with this one might be a little bit harsh. Sometimes I felt like this thing at 80% let off was not quite 100% accurate. It felt like it was a little more like 85. So once again, it's a little stab at the start, but once you get it going, it keeps going. Like I said, it doesn't load up. The hold with this is really nice, actually, very nice. Holds nice and steady. Yeah, it holds very nice. One of the reasons that I chose this bow to hunt with last year is the draw cycle. At 80 pounds, I could pull this thing back all day long, and it actually was a little more of a forgiving draw cycle than a lot of 70-pound bows that I'd shot. So if you're looking for something smooth, these HBX cams that Hoyt has are really good. Once again, a little stout, but it actually might even get a little easier as you go through the draw cycle. A little bit of vibration, but it dissipates really fast. And actually pretty impressive for an 80-pound bow. All right, next I have the Stealth Mach 1. Okay, so draw cycle. Once again, 80 pounds, 30-inch draw. Okay, so that is a little more stout on the pull, and the letdown doesn't take off as fast, but it pulls pretty hard once you get about halfway down. So let's see. Pretty stout. It loads a little bit before it dumps, but not a lot. And this bow holds very good. You see it kind of trying to jump. So the valley on this, compared to the Ventum so far, the valley is a lot more shallow, or there's less valley. So it keeps you a little bit more honest than the Ventum, which I think is a good thing. Once again, pretty stout pole, not too bad. Maybe a little bit more rough than the Ventum. All right, and probably notice on the shot there, it does jump, kicks out on the bottom a bit. It's 2 pounds lighter than the other one. That's than the Ventum for sure. So it does have a little bit of a jump. A little bit of vibration. Most of it dissipates very quickly. But there does seem to be a little bit, very faint, that hangs on for a little bit. Like I said, I don't think that's a big deal. Doesn't really make a difference. I think the most important things are the draw cycle and the hold. A little bit of vibration, but the jump, I will say that the jump is relatively significant with this, especially bare. Okay, now I have the Levitate. This one actually tipped the scales a little bit heavier. Everything's off the same as the Mach 1. Has the exact same mount on it as well for the sight. So I'm guessing that extra weight is coming from this rest. This is the knock-on elevate rest, the offset mount that was built specifically for this bow. And just real quick, you can see the cam profile is different for this year. These are the E2 cams, and they're saying they can get a lot more performance. The other thing that these offer is a better string angle. The axle to axle on this bow is 32.25, I believe. And with it at full draw and the larger cams, you get the same string angle that you do get with a 33-inch axle to axle bow. So that is a benefit to having a little bit larger cams. They also made the limb pockets wider, and they beefed up the bearings on these. So some modifications in the cam, the limb pockets. They also changed the guide rod so that it's not adjustable, which I didn't find that it was that helpful to have an adjustable guide rod. For me, I would much rather adjust these things, get the cables out of the way, get your clearance set, and leave it alone, and adjust everything based on the yokes. So as far as the riser, I don't see any difference from last year's riser. It looks identical. I can't say that they haven't done anything different, but visibly you can't tell in that. They did make this bracket extend down and put a back bar or a V-bar mount on there, so that you can bolt that on the back side of the bow there, which I think is a good thing. It would be nice if we had a back bar mount that was down here. I think that gives you a little bit better geometry for what you want a back bar to do, but at least they have that option. Other than that, we'll see how it does. What I'm looking for is how it loads and if there's a hump before it dumps. So initially stout, but it doesn't load. The letdown, the letdown is more smooth than the Mach 1, and it's a little more smooth, I think, than the Ventum, which is strange. That Ventum has a really good draw cycle, but this one's not far off from it as far as how it doesn't load through the cycle and it doesn't hump right at the end. It just kind of easy dumps in there. The valley is more shallow. There is a little bit of a valley, but not much. Back wall is good. I know a lot of people put a lot of stock in back wall. With these binary cams, depending on where the draw stop is, I'm finding that they're pretty solid. I like a little bit of give, which these do have a little bit of give. As you can see, I'm using the Silverback Plus. I like a little bit of give as I'm pulling through the shot. Okay, let's see how it does on the hold. Very good hold, very steady. Very similar at the shot on first impression with the Mach 1. A little bit of a jump. Let's see how it feels if the vibration is the same. Okay, it feels a little different at the shot, and that could be due to the cams, or they may have done something different with the carbon. The vibration the frequency feels a little bit higher, but it's less intense and dissipates faster, if that makes any sense. And the noise that it makes, it's really hard for me to tell what the noise is. The only way I can say to test the noise is go outside and shoot it outside. You get a better feel for the sound when you're outside. It's hard to tell when it's bouncing off of these drywall walls here. So once again, it loads a little, it's a little stiff at first, but it doesn't load any more at the end when it drops in. Okay. Like I said, that vibration feels a little higher frequency, but it goes away a lot faster. The hold with this is exactly the same as the Mach 1. And I found that these lighter bows actually hold better than heavier bows. And you can hold it for longer. The drawback with that is if you get into any kind of wind, it does take the bow more. And obviously that makes a lot of sense to me that it would do that. But okay, there you have it. The Levitate performed pretty well. Hung right there with the Ventum, within a few feet per second for the most part, if not right there head to head with it. Within 10 feet per second of the Mach 1. So definitely a viable option if you're considering buying a Levitate. You're definitely not going to have problems with performance. And in my opinion, some of the criticism that it gets is not warranted. The draw cycle is much better. So if you're considering a Levitate, you may not even need to go to the 80 pound if you're wanting to keep the poundage lower. This is definitely a good option for those that are looking for a lower poundage but getting the performance. So like, share, subscribe. If I left anything out, please ask. If you have any questions about the setup of any of the bows, feel free to ask. We're more than happy to engage and answer questions. And hopefully our perspective on some of these reviews is helpful from your amateur standpoint. Anyways, remember, clean brakes and shoot straight.